for Grandpa's Lab. Brought to you by the Science Academy and the Newton Institute of Technology.
Hey, I'm out in the field today, and I want to show you something. Look at this. Can you believe it? Look at the size of this. It comes from West Africa. Can you guess what it is? Guessing is called a hypothesis in science.
Can you guess what kind of bird laid this egg? If you guessed ostrich, you're right. Did you know that the ostrich in Africa will lay its eggs and another ostrich will sit on them until they hatch sometimes? Isn't that incredible? What a funny bird. Can you guess what kind of bird this is? If you guess kookaburra, you're right. This bird originated in Australia. This must be one of the most funny and loud birds on planet Earth. Wouldn't you agree?
If you're a boy, click bugs, if you like bugs. And if you're a girl, click diamonds, rocks, and... Okay. See this? This is my grandpa's. And these are Africa scorpions. And they're huge, and I don't like bugging. Bye now. Oh, take it. Take it.
Hey, I wonder what type of fossil that is. Do you know how you make a discovery through science?
No, I don't.
Well, you do it through the scientific method.
What's the scientific method?
Well, first you start out with you find your problem. Like, maybe you want to discover how the fossil was made.
Welcome, young scientist. How are you? Welcome back. In episode 2 of Grandpa's Lab, we're going to be talking about how to make a discovery. Do you remember? We talked about how to make a lab in the first episode. We're going to be discovering something about a very famous scientist called Robert Boyle, the father of modern chemistry. You remember early as we began, you made 2 discoveries yourself. One was the ostrich egg, and the other the kookaburra. That was funny, wasn't it? Well, we enjoy making observations out in the field and in the laboratory. So today, we're going to discover the scientific method. Make an observation. We can use our 5 senses to make an observation. I'm going to use Grandpa's face to show you some of these sensory organs that we were created with. Look at this. Let me focus it. What is that? You're right, it's a nose, and I use that for smelling. And then the eye for seeing. And then the ear for hearing. And then the tongue for tasting. Now, I want to pull a magnifying glass out of my pocket and let you see how I touch. Well, did you see all those ridges? That's how I pick things up. And there are also nerves in my fingers that help me to feel things. And some scientists say that nerves send a message to my brain 300 miles an hour. That's fast. Can you imagine? The minute we see something, we begin to record an image in our brains, and we can hold on to it, we can remember it. And that is just incredible. And now I want to show you some of the tools we use to make discoveries. In the lab, I use a microscope. Right here is the eyepiece, that's what we look in. See, there's a lens. And then we look through the lens down this tube, and there's a mirror or prism. And then we have objectives. These objectives are lenses just like the eyepiece. Come in a little closer, you can see the mechanical stage. The mechanical stage is operated just like this. One goes back and forth. One way, and one goes back and forth the other way. We also use a slide. When we're using a microscope, we put that on the stage. This is the stage of a microscope, and on the slide we can put a drop of water. Let me get my pipette out, and the bottle of water, and I'm going to put a drop of water right on the slide. Then, on the slide, we can put just about anything to look at. A tiny piece of a foam pad, and I put that right on the water, and then I drop the cover slip on top of it. And the cover slip mashes it down so that we can look at it under the microscope. And so we adjust the microscope, and there we go, we can see something with it. Now it's very interesting to use the microscope, but there are other tools as well. I would like to share some of the safety rules that I follow in the lab. Number one, always ask an adult before you do an experiment. Explain that experiment to them and what you're going to do. Number two, always think before you do an experiment. That way you'll be safer. Number three, always write down what you will do or test. Number four, always ask yourself, is this dangerous to me or others? Always stop if the answer is yes or maybe, and get someone to help you. Number six, always have an assistant working with you. That could be a mom and dad, an aunt or uncle, or a big sister or big brother. Someone that will seriously help you. Always wear eye and body protection.
Well, in my left hand I have a feather. In my right hand a hammer. And I guess one of the reasons we got here today was because of a gentleman named Galileo a long time ago who made a rather significant discovery about falling objects in gravity fields. And we thought that where would be a better place to confirm his findings than on the moon. And so we thought we'd try it here for you. The feather happens to be appropriately a falcon feather for our falcon. And I'll drop the two of them here, and hopefully they'll hit the ground at the same time. How about that? That proves that Mr. Galileo was correct in his findings.
How can you make one of these at home? If you have a bottle this size or this size, the mouth needs to be a little smaller so that we can make a clay stopper, or you can use Play-Doh. Or the mouth of your bottle can be this size. So you can find some kind of bottle. It could be a leftover plastic bottle like this with the top about that size. Okay, we'll use this one today, and we have two straws that you can use with the little flex joint in the straw that you can bend over, and we will bend these straws like this. we will blow into the green one, and the liquid will come out of the purple one. Now what we want to do is take a little piece of clay and make a stopper out of it. What we'll do is take our straws and put them in the middle. We'll pull this one when we're making the clay stopper. Remember, this is the one we will blow into. It's shorter when it goes into the bottle. And this is the one that needs to go down almost to the bottom of the bottle. And so we will put the clay around these two straws like this. Pull that green one up. You don't want to suck up any liquid into your mouth. Never drink anything that comes out of your lab. Always keep that separated. So now we have a clay ball around our two straws. Remember, the green one is the one we blow into, and the purple one is the one that's longer that goes down into the bottle that the liquid will come out of when we apply pressure. So I want to show you how that's going to fit. It will be like this. Okay, let's give it a try. I'm going to use a stopper, and let's give this a try. You can use a baby food jar for a beaker. Okay, make sure your clay stopper or Play-Doh stopper is nice and tight. And it looks like this. Now I'm going to blow into the green one, and let's see how it comes out. Just like we had planned. Okay, so our liquid's all gone in this bottle. It's empty, and it went back into the water bottle. Can you guess what this equipment is? Look at it. Robert Boyle was born in 1627 in Lismore County of Waterford, Ireland. began to understand chemistry as he visited with his dad and he watched the blacksmith melt the steel and form it and shape it into blocks to be shipped.
But to see how it might have been done, let's take a look at one of the known primitive methods. A crude furnace was made of clay with the top open. Through the top, the furnace was charged with charcoal. To cause the fire to burn more freely, an air blast was provided by bellows made of flexible animal skins. Elevating the upper part of the bag permitted air to enter through a hole in the top. After it was inflated, pressing down on it forced air into the furnace through hollow wooden tubes. By operating the two bellows alternately, an air blast was maintained. When the furnace had been heated sufficiently, iron ore was scattered over the burning charcoal. Inside the furnace, under the influence of high heat, gases from the glowing charcoal, which is mostly carbon, gradually drew oxygen from the iron ore, leaving metallic iron. After the fire had been forced for several hours, the operator dragged out a lump of spongy metal. This was vigorously hammered to remove slag or cinder and get the iron into compact, usable form. In time, it was discovered that by reheating the hammered iron, it could be worked more easily. But occasionally, the repeated reheating and hammering produced unexpected results. Iron in quantity, by developing a type of furnace shown here in model form. The furnace, some 35 feet high, was charged through this open port at the top. The charge consisting of charcoal, iron ore, and limestone was conveyed to the top of the furnace in baskets on carts, such as this. The limestone was used to remove impurities from the iron. A blast of air was forced into the furnace at the bottom through an air duct, or tweer. Power for the air blast was supplied by a water wheel, operating huge air pumps set above it. Through a hole in the casting arch, the iron was tapped twice a day, and about 25 tons a week was produced. The molten iron was run into molds. Because of a fancied resemblance to a sow and her suckling pigs, this was called pig iron. However, most of the iron used during colonial days was being produced by processes very similar to the primitive method of heating iron ore in a charcoal fire, turning out only about 2 to 6 tons a week. And steel was still being made by reheating the iron in contact with charcoal.
He would rather read than go out and play. Sometimes his professors would find him reading in the corner of the library when others were doing something else. He loved to read science books. He was tutored and taught Latin, astronomy, other kinds of subjects in philosophy. and the history of the world at that time. And he began to learn the scientific method as he read the works of Galileo. Later he writes that it was more important to study the elements as individual pure substances. In other words, the element of copper is just copper. It's not mixed with anything else. And he learned that there were pure elements and they could be mixed with others. But it's done by a step-by-step method. Galileo wrote about the scientific method, and every time they would approach an experiment, they would start out with a problem to solve or a question to answer, and then they would come up with a guess or a hypothesis. Galileo called it intuition. But then also they would reason through this guess, and they would make statements like, if I do this or add this, then something will happen, cause and effect. And so, as they worked through the scientific method, they made great discoveries. But Robert Boyle believed that without the wisdom of the Creator God of the universe, it wouldn't have been possible for him to have made those discoveries. Well, I sure have enjoyed being with you and doing some experiments and discovering new things with the scientific method. And I hope that you'll try some experiments on your own and make some discoveries. Remember to write things down and also be safe. Well, until we meet again, join me online at scienceacademysite.com. And until next time, have a good day.
Get on board and join the Science Club.
Thank you for watching Grandpa's Lab.